About 2 years and 4 or 5 months ago, my brother took his own life, my only brother. Like, his last words to me were, "See you tomorrow." All those things that we prioritize, they're not gonna be in the coffin with us, that's gonna be our hearts. I'm not sure what's scarier, death or a life poorly lived.
Pause it.
I got a lot to say, you're good.
That's awesome. Be real with me.
Unconsciously loving is a criminal act.
Real. Why?
You only got one life, and it's going to end. In the end, my friend, it will all be ash. And I think moving through this world and doing the most important thing without intention is a massive mistake. I have loved very poorly in my life, people I deeply care about. But I don't know if I could have loved them more. I could have loved them better. But trying to move through this world in the way we're proud of and making sure that we're doing it with intention and consciously, I think is really important.
I think unconsciously loving is the biggest reason why people hurt each other. Because I think nobody actively goes out there with the intention of hurting people, yet we continue to hurt people. We continue to be hurt by people.
Yeah, I mean, I think people put in a lot of effort to learn. I think learning is great. It's basically the only thing we can do. We can improve, right? But loving without intention, like doing this shit on autopilot, is a defining feature, particularly of how I think young people approach it, because we think we're immortal. Like, we all think we're going to live forever because we're deeply out of touch with the fact that we're going to die. And having had confrontations with death, I feel strongly that, like, we should put it all out there. We should leave it on the field. You know what I'm saying?
What does that look like for you?
About 2 years and 4 or 5 months ago, my brother took his own life, my only brother. Like, his last words to me were, "See you tomorrow." And you know, I had to rip that dude's name. His name is my name now. I got his first name tattooed on the side of my face. I could have loved him better when he was here. I should have told him to get back on his meds. I should have done a bunch of shit. And I can't take it back. I can't go back in time. But trying in my current relationships to push myself to give people as much love as I can. And by the way, I will fail. I have failed. That's a part of it. But like loving on autopilot, saying I love you to people, and not trying to move through the world with that as your intention is, I think, probably, you know, it's the only regret I have.
Why do you think we have such a tendency to like love unconsciously? Like, why do you think we put this on autopilot?
I don't think we're encouraged to think about love. I think we are encouraged to think about everything besides love. Think about your job, think about school, think about money. And I think we're told family is important, but I don't know if family is even a structure built around love or built around protection. Not in nature, but in our society. And we love unconsciously because we're not taught better. Because we're not taught, they don't teach you in school that love is the most important thing. However, love is the invisible string that pulls people together throughout time, love and hope, right? Like my ancestors, one of them walked through icy Poland with no shoes and no food because she thought there'd be love on the other end of something. She thought there'd be hope on the other end of something. You don't make that what they call a death march because you have no hope. You make that because there's something inside of you, like a deep human pull. The sea does not cease to grind down rock, and yet we continue to love each other because as the sea rises, each other's arms are the only thing that will really matter, right?
I think the thing about love, and especially in the context you're describing, is I think that loving consciously is so hard, right? Like, one, I agree with you, we're not encouraged to think about it. And on the other side of that, it's really, really hard. It's hard to constantly put somebody first. It's hard to use all your energy to think about how you can be the best version of yourself for them. It's hard to accept somebody when there's all these other things we're pushed to do in life, like career, like all of these other things that are distracting us.
100%. I don't even think it's anybody's fault. But I mean, you said putting somebody first. Is that the best way to love somebody? I've put people's needs in front of mine and failed to love them because I thought that that's what it meant to love somebody the most. I don't know if volume or quality is even more important. I think there's a bunch of questions on the other end of this, but I do know that moving through the world thinking that your grades are more important than your heart is like, you're kidding yourself, man. At your funeral, nobody's going to quote your GPA. Like, they're going to talk about how you treated them, how you made them feel, how much you cared for people. And I know that because I've been to my better half's funeral. And I spoke in front of like 400 people there. I think that confronting the end is, the end should inform the beginning. We should start things knowing that they'll end. If you're in love, it'll end in heartbreak or death and nothing in between. You know, the light will change, the light will go away, the sun goes down, it'll rise again. And if you wake up and you say, damn, I could have loved better yesterday. Damn, I could have loved more yesterday. I could have loved with more thought and more intention, I think you're going to regret it. I mean, I know I'll regret it. I have.
I feel like everybody's in different stages of life, and when you're in different stages of life, it becomes more or less convenient to put love first. I think that it's only something that happens when people feel ready for it. And
Hold on. What if you don't get that chance? What if it's sudden? You're faced with the deathbed, right? 2 weeks to live. Now, how do you react to love? So you were talking more about a long-term and phases of life, and I agree with that. But otherwise, sometimes you're dealing with love in a very direct way or indirect way, and it's in your face. An example, you expect your parents to die, your grandparents. You don't expect a sibling to get sick and go through years of misery. And that love, even though you want them to stick around, to have them stick around on an operating table. So I don't want to be too personal with it and I guess make you subjective, but you were talking about phases, and you were talking about you don't want to be remembered a day without having lived the way you, and it's kind of like, I think both of you would need to meet the middle.
I think it's totally valid for people to prioritize career. Why do you prioritize career? Because you want accomplishments? I think that's a manifestation of the fact that you love yourself. You think you deserve things. Why you prioritize your family? You love your family. Why you prioritize your career? You want money? You want money probably to protect yourself or to give yourself great experiences. I mean, at the end of the line, all those things that we prioritize, they're not going to be in the coffin with us. That's going to be our hearts. It's a symptom of youth. It's a symptom of distraction, of the world we live in. But it's just my particular singular experience. When I was very young, I had something that could no longer distract me from the fact that that's the only thing we're taking with us to our grave. And praise be, other people do not have that experience. But I don't know if I would say that I wouldn't change it because, my brother was my first friend. He was my best friend. There's a couple girls I lost, people I valued deeply. But all that loss informs how I hold the things that I do have. And I've learned to hold them better. I've also messed up tremendously. Loving at 100 miles an hour, probably not a good idea. Loving on cruise control, I would argue is an equally bad idea.
When you say loving at 100 miles an hour versus loving on cruise control, what does the happy medium look like in this case? What does it mean to be intentional about that?
I think the happy medium is just the thing between the ways you mess up. And I mean, you talked about impermanence, right? And I think we are so scared of dying that we don't think about dying. And so we act like we're permanent fixtures in this world, because in our world, in the 150 years, the 9 months before you're born and the maybe 100 years you get when you're remembered, if you're I don't know if that's lucky or unlucky, that's all we can really conceive. But there is an ephemeral, constantly disappearing set of facts that something greater than us is in touch with about who we chose to be when we lived on this earth. And I think it's really important to try your best to choose to be a thing instead of just being I had this life experience. All right, I'm going to be angry my whole life. I'm going to be angry my parents sucked. I'm going to be angry I didn't get the grades I wanted. I'm going to be angry I didn't get that job. I'm going to be sad about X, Y, and Z. You actually are an actor. And I'm not saying the world is not in your control. The outcomes of your life deeply out of your control. But I'm not talking about outcomes. You can hold on to a process. And there's, this is all about balance and in between, because right now I'm talking about holding on, and the impetus for loving urgently, for loving consciously, is about letting go, accepting that you'll let go. So while you hold things, while you have a moment, savor that moment, be in that moment. Don't be afraid to mess up. I'm not sure what's scarier, death or a life poorly lived. To me, it's a life poorly lived, but that's only because I saw death whether or not I wanted to, I have seen my mother cry at her own son's funeral, and the sound of those tears hitting the floor, it sounded like they were going to crack the floorboards, like they were 100 pounds each, right? And that sound is, first of all, my mother gave all the love she had to her son. She gives all the love she has to me. But that sound informs the way that I view the laughter from my friends when we're at a bar. I look at myself in the mirror, I see myself smiling in pictures, and I'm like, wow, I have a million reasons not to smile, and I'd rather be that guy. And it's been hard to be that guy. I want to be clear, like I have needed a lot of help. But the form that help has taken, the thing behind everything, the man behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, the specter in all of our lives is our beating heart. And so like treating this like we have tomorrow. One day tomorrow won't come. And you know, this is a balancing act. 100 miles an hour, not a great speed. But the day that you wake up and somebody else's tomorrow isn't here, you're gonna be really, really aware of all the things you did not say.
I love that. No, thank you so much. What was your name?
Cooper. Well, Cooper is my brother's name. It's my name now.
Preston, nice to meet you.
Preston. Good to meet you.
If you enjoyed this conversation and you want to see more and you want to support us, the easiest way is by hitting the subscribe button. I promise if you do that, I will do everything in my power to keep finding the most incredibly insightful strangers to share their perspectives on love and life. Thank you so much.